Welcome to the video overview for the last section of your mini book project. In this one, we're going to be discussing summary, thumbs up or thumbs down, and window or mirror. So as we work our way through, you should understand all of these different activities so that you can pick the one you want to do for your project. The last page will look like this, and as you can see, you've got some choices. You can choose summary, you can choose thumbs up or thumbs down, and you can choose window or mirror. And then you have all this writing space. This is the longest writing space in your mini book project. So I want to explain to you what each of these looks like so that you can decide which one you would like to do for your mini book project. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is summary, and that's this one right here. Let's jump right in. For summary, you should be giving a 4 to 6 sentence overview of what your book was about. You're going to be sure to include the most important details from the beginning, middle, and end of the story. And since we've been talking about plot in class, you can kind of think of that like what's happening in the beginning with the exposition where we learn about characters, what's happening in the middle where we're seeing the conflict happen, and then what happens in the end with the resolution. So let's look at a couple different examples. Here's my first example that I sometimes see from kids, and it does not get full points. Sometimes they write things like this. This book is about kids who go to a chocolate factory. So for my book, I'm using the example of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Some of you might have read the book or seen the movie, so you kind of have some background knowledge. But when I read this short sentence, first of all, it's not 4 to 6 sentences, and it doesn't tell me what happens in the beginning, the middle, and the end. In fact, somebody who picked up this book and didn't read a single page could have written this. This doesn't show me they read the book or understood it. Let's look at a much better example. So in this example, I want you to notice that the author has shown what happens in the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens in the end. And you can see it's multiple sentences and really fills up the space. It says, this book starts out with a boy named Charlie who is very poor and lives with his parents and all 4 of his grandparents in a small house. So there's the beginning. It tells you where it starts and the characters. Charlie wins a ticket to tour Willy Wonka's famous chocolate factory. He takes his Grandpa Joe with him, and they get to see a chocolate river, tiny people called Oompa Loompas, and taste special new candies. Along the way, the other kids on the tour who are naughty or spoiled made bad choices and had to get help to return to their normal form. So that's explaining the middle with the conflict. In the end, you can see here I'm about to tell the ending. In the end, Charlie is the best kid and wins the whole factory and gets to ride in a glass elevator into outer space. So I can see the beginning, the middle, and the end. It gives me 4 to 6 sentences and includes the most important details. Sometimes kids will say, they'll tell me the beginning and then say, but I don't want to spoil it for you. This isn't the place to do that. You can spoil away. I want to know what you learned. So this is what a good example of a summary looks like. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is called thumbs up or thumbs down, and it's that middle one right here. This is a great one to choose if you want to tell how much you loved a book or how much you didn't love a book. So for this one, just like before, you're going to give specific details. It says, tell whether you liked this book or disliked this book and why. Then, give specific details from throughout the book to support your reason for liking or disliking a book. And then let's take a look again at that example that's not going to get you your points. I see this a lot, so I wanted you to get to see it. This student wrote, I give this book a thumbs up. You should read this book. It is very good and funny and makes me happy. It has many funny parts, and that is why it is a good book. Everyone should read it. We should read it in class. It is a really good book, and so I give it 2 thumbs up because it is really good. Now I can tell that this student liked this book, but they didn't give me any specific details. In fact, when I read this, could you even tell what book I'm writing about? There were no details to help me understand the book. You really need to make sure you're giving specific details, saying what happened in your book and why you liked it or didn't like it. So let's look at a better example. I absolutely loved this book because the details in it are so ridiculous. So I know I'm about to hear about ridiculous things that happen in this book. For example, Willy Wonka, who owns the famous chocolate factory, is in some sort of war with Slugworth, who also owns a chocolate factory. Slugworth even spies on kids to try and get people to buy his chocolate instead of Willy Wonka. Another example is that whenever a kid is naughty and has a consequence, like getting sucked up a pipe in a chocolate river or getting shrunk by a special TV camera, these tiny people called Oompa Loompas come out and sing a song about why that kid deserved their fate. It was so ridiculous and fun, and that's why I love this book. So I can tell that this person really read the book. They gave the example of the war with Slugworth, and they gave another example about a kid getting sucked up in a pipe in a chocolate river and a kid getting shrunk by a TV camera, and how there are Oompa Loompas who'll come out and sing the song. So they didn't just tell me the book is ridiculous, they gave me specific examples so that I can understand and I can see that they read the book and understood it. So this would get full points. This is a good example of thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, some kids worry if they say, I didn't like the book and let me tell you why, that I'm going to be mad at them or they're going to lose points. But I promise, if you give me good examples about why you didn't like the book, you still get all your points. You don't have to love a book to get credit for your work. And the last one is called window or mirror. So let's look at what that one means. For window or mirror, you are going to tell if you think this book gave you the opportunity to understand the life of someone very different than you. In other words, it's like looking through a window into someone else's life. Or if you felt more like reading about the life of someone who had a similar experience to your own life. In other words, you felt like you were looking in a mirror. Their life felt like a mirror representation of yours. And then you're going to tell why you feel that way. Give specific examples from the text to explain why you feel that way. So let's start by looking at that example that is not going to get you points, somebody who's not doing the deep thinking. Sometimes I see this in books that have magic in them. This student wrote, "This book was a window for me because I have never gone to a magical chocolate factory before." That's kind of obvious. Nobody's gone to a magical chocolate factory because there's no such thing as a magical chocolate factory. That one didn't take deep thinking or examples, and it definitely didn't meet the 4 to 6 sentence expectation. Let's look at what a deeper thinking example could be. When we look at this better example, see if you can notice the different details they tell about from the story. This book was a window for me because it showed how many different kids will react when given an amazing opportunity to tour the magical chocolate factory. Even though each kid reacted differently, they all reacted selfishly, except for Charlie, and their parents seemed to encourage them to be selfish. For example, one girl wanted to have a goose that would lay a golden egg, and she demanded it, and her dad tried to buy it for her. She was so spoiled and selfish. It was very strange to see so many characters behaving that way. My parents definitely taught me not to be selfish, and that's why this book is a window for me. So I had this student here, they explained that the book was a window. So you got to first tell, is it a window or a mirror? And then tell why, and then give examples, and then maybe restate at the end. That's really helpful, how you felt about it. So in the end, I can tell that this student really read the book and is thinking about it and decided whether or not it was a connection to their own life, a mirror, or if it showed them something different from their own life, a window. So this might seem like a lot of complicated stuff, so I wanted to boil it all down and come up with a big idea. Here's what I'm really looking for on this last page. I'm looking for you to choose one response option on this page. In other words, you could choose summary, or you could choose thumbs up or thumbs down, Or you could choose window or mirror. Don't do all three. If you try to do all three, you're going to not be able to fit in details. Just pick one. Next, I'm looking for you to fully answer the prompt. So if you choose summary, make sure you're telling me the beginning, tell the middle, and tell the end. If you choose thumbs up or thumbs down, just make sure you tell me thumbs up because, or thumbs down because. And if you choose window or mirror, tell me I think it's a window because, and explain why. Or I think it's a mirror for me because, and explain why. So whichever one you choose, make sure you're really answering the prompt. And then finally, be sure to give specific examples from the text. Tell about specific things that happened in your book. If it's a story, tell specific events in the story. If it's a nonfiction, tell specific ideas that you learned, but be specific. In other words, the biggest idea of all, show that you read and understood the book. When I finish reading your answer, I should feel confident that you read your book and you understand it. All right, once you're finished with this, please complete the rest of the assignment that goes with this video, and then you can use this knowledge as you work on your mini book project.